Hi, I'm Professor Loushine. Thanks for joining me on my introductory video for my 8-part series on a data analysis technique that I've developed over the last 10-15 years and taught in my classes. I want everybody to benefit from this technique, and I think I'm ready to share it. I think I've gotten to the point where it's not too erroneous. As I move around and talk to to safety professionals, workers too, I found that there are three main themes that they come up with, concerns they have. First being management support. How do I get management committed to the safety program? Yeah, they don't want anybody to get hurt, and they give me some money, but I need more. I need them to actually demonstrate certain things and support certain things I'm doing so I can be really successful. Along those same lines, how do I get workers engaged? I mean, I'm doing this for them. Why are they fighting me on it? And one aspect of this technique requires you to go out and demonstrate to them and work with them to really find the answers we need. Now, the most important one is, how do we get the money? Got to get the money in order to get the elimination, the substitution that we need to mitigate exposures. And this technique is meant to show that if we do nothing, if we continue as we are, the company's probably going to be paying this much. Therefore, if we invest this amount, we can actually see a return on that investment. That's what it's all about. As you go through this technique, as you watch these videos, I want you to be thinking about root cause analyses. Now, root cause analysis, people think, oh, you're going to find one root cause. No, not typically. Usually there's a variety of things, but what it's meant to do is to get you to look beyond the occurrence, beyond the worker themselves, to find out what led to. Because if that particular root or root cause is controlled or eliminated, it should eliminate the chance of it reoccurring. And therefore, we have to adopt a systems approach. You've probably heard of different types of systems approaches or system management. What this means is there are different characteristics or factors in the workplace or in a work system. And when there's an imbalance between them and we require a worker to make up for that discrepancy, that puts them in a position where they can be harmed. And therefore, if we have consistent discrepancies or imbalances in the work system, then injuries and accidents are going to be occurring within a particular area or during a particular task, or have a particular cause that seems to be reoccurring. And only through a root cause analysis that goes beyond the worker would we really be able to understand that. So that's the basic assumption for this technique. Here are all the different videos on the time. You can see it's about 3¼ hours in totality, but it is broken down so you can take a step at a time. At this point, I just want to say that if you are going to pursue this and you're finding difficulty, I do have my contact information in the down below, so please reach out to me. I even had some people ask, why would people want to invest, just 3¼ hours to watch it, but probably on their own 6 to 8 hours to do this analysis? I don't know. And would I be willing to do this for you? Well, let's talk about that. I didn't think that far ahead. This was kind of built initially for my students, but I want others to benefit from it too. This technique does not give you solid answers. It only indicates where the primary issues lie. And then you have to go out and find out what they are. And it also gives you an idea of how many could happen in the future if the data is handled correctly. So it's only a picture or perspective. And I put Bob Ross on here, and I put the TV, because sometimes when you move around the antenna, you get different views of things. It's kind of what I mean, is that the true safety picture seems to always be changing on us, and this is meant to just give us one perspective to better understand it. But if we're going to pursue more objective, real data, then we're going to have a more objective, real understanding. I believe, and I think Deming would too, that we make too many assumptions, incorrect assumptions, based on bias and heuristics in safety. And I think we need to take a different viewpoint or a different approach and really question, is this the right data? What does it really represent? What does it look like? And that's one of the steps in the analysis. And also, data is meant to drive improvement, not lagging like we're going to be analyzing here, but as we move beyond the lagging to what has happened in the past, we start being able to collect of what's happening. Or if we do these things, these great things will happen in the future. And so this is a growth process. This is the initial step of that. Again, to get a better understanding, a different perspective, and hopefully ask some new questions. And this can be done on pretty much any form of data, as long as there are a magnitude group of observations or entries that there are descriptors that are standardized, and that there's some form of magnitude or severity that can be analyzed. The scope of these videos, I'm going to use 4 different loss run data sets. So it's 4 different companies, work comp data, different years involved, but here's the totals right in front of you. 6,300 plus overall claims, over $24 million in paid benefits. And I'll take each one individually, not in totality. I'll be bouncing back and forth. But then at the end, I kind of consider similarities between them, and then I combine them again and look at it from a cost per claim, per type of claim, and compare it to some external criteria. The first step is to just look at the data, what's given to us, and try to get an idea of what it represents. It's an overall first step, and we can always refer back to it, but also I create a distribution chart to find out what the data looks like. And I think you're going to find it very interesting that maybe the average isn't what you thought it was. I also look at the outliers. You may think outliers primarily the more expensive claims, but also what about the quantity of $0 claims? Is there something significant about them that's affecting our numbers? Then I look at the trends over time just to kind of judge how has the safety program been performing. And this is going to be done later on when we start getting down to and identifying, investigating our priorities. The next 2 steps are very similar in nature. First, I want to find out where things have been occurring. You got to look at your data set to find out what you have. I use policy class codes. Sometimes I have location and department, but if there's great variability in the categories that are under these variables or descriptors, it's difficult to use. It's too sparse. We need more of a condensed, better way to focus. Point a finger. We can go talk to these people. We can go look at this department, and I identify my priorities based on risk priority number, which is similar to what risk is, probability times severity. But in my demonstration, it's percent count as I divide things up, and the percent total paid as I divide things up. Same things for what. I take the accident source or the cause. I do the same exact steps, and I get my priorities. Then I combine the two. So as I point to a particular job or I point to a particular location, what are the primary causes of, whatever, number of claims, number of injuries, number of reports of near miss, whatever it is, and what's the potential magnitude of those? I prioritize within just a particular area, and then I forecast on those. I trend them, I take annual averages. I try to figure out that based on the last how many years, you want at least 5 years. I think I have 10 in some of mine. Based on the trends here, are they going up, staying the same, going down? What's the annual average? What can we expect for future losses? And that's what we're going to use to persuade management to invest in safety. The final step is combining everything we just found out throughout the whole analysis and put it in a nice, consumable, easy to understand way so that management would go, yeah, investing in safety is a good idea. It's wise. Because if I give you $100,000 and you can make these corrections, these things won't happen as much anymore, and we'll save money in the long run. And that's what this is all about. My final comments is that I'll be using a 2003 version of PC Excel. You may be using an Apple version or a more recent version, and the steps or what I'm doing may not work on yours. But I think if you do Google or use YouTube, you should be able to find something equivalent to it. This technique takes a lot of time. And therefore, I want you to think about how you're going to save your work. I tell this to my students every semester, and still a bunch of them screw it up. Oh, professor, I was in the library for 6 hours working, and I saved it on the desktop, and I emailed it to myself, and when I got home, it was all corrupted. Yeah, that wasn't smart. I don't even trust flash drives anymore. I use Dropbox.com. It's worked beautifully for me for the last 10 years. But take care of your work. Don't just throw it around. Another thing, as you go from step to step, make sure you're checking your work. Make sure when you're doing your calculations and creating tables that you have a line for totals to make sure you're covering everything. Students come in, they're like, oh, my results don't match up with others. And they could have caught the error very easily if they had just added up the totals on each tab and compared it to what it's supposed to be. So check your work, make sure you're saving it right. And if you need help with Excel, Google, YouTube, they're all good. Finally, my final tips and comments. I'm not training you to use Excel. My students think I am, but Excel is just a tool. It's the technique that's really important. So I want you to be thinking about on each step what it means, what you're really trying to find out. I'm hoping that this technique alone gives you a better understanding of what we can do to improve our data and present it differently and make it better. I'll talk about that a little bit in my final video of this series. That I hope this guides people to maybe ask questions that hadn't been asked, or pursue a level of understanding that hadn't been attempted before, because I think that's where things lie right now. I think based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics annual data that we've been stagnant for a few years, and I think we needed to change how we practice. And I'm hoping that maybe these videos provide people with just that little spark they needed to get things moving. And maybe most importantly is it's meant to provide you with a way to demonstrate to management that safety is a wise investment. So with that, please like, share, comment on these videos. I will be reading them. I'll provide my email addresses in the description down below. You can reach out to me. If you want me to look at your data for you, talk to management first, but I love doing this stuff. I hope that comes out in the videos. I do enjoy doing these analyses. If it's going to be a full with a report, yeah, I probably want a little bit of something in my can so I don't have to panhandle as much as I do. But please, again, like, share, and provide comments, and I'm here to help you if you need it.